7-6, 7-6.
Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Tennis Asia podcast, and on this week's very early show we reflect on the Roland-Garros qualifiers. We look forward to the main event itself, which begins very shortly over in Paris. Also a little bit on the challenges that have happened this week and all else in the world of Asian tennis. And here to navigate us through, Mr. Tennis Asia himself, Eddie McGee. Eddie, how are you?
Not bad. It's been a little bit quieter this week because of the qualies. I haven't had to be focusing 24 hours on the tennis because the qualies, it's only, especially in that last day, it's only a few matches, right? So, but yeah, it's been still eventful, and we've had even a few challengers are there as well. But yeah, Roland-Garros has been interesting.
So the qualifiers wrapped up, the main draw is out, even the order of play is out now. We'll start on the women's side, and we might as well start with this pod's hero, basically. Obviously, Moyuka Uchijima, the machine. She came through, taking her undefeated streak to a frankly ridiculous 18 matches, I think it is now, across 2 continents, 4 countries, 2 surfaces, and she's into the French Open main draw, maybe some time before she needs to go through qualies again for a slam, and it was utterly routine for her in all 3 rounds.
Yep, I mean, should we even be surprised anymore? Of course she qualified. She came through, didn't drop a set. Yeah, and this puts her on, 18 matches, unbeaten, 18 matches in a row that she's won. And not only that, I mean, I put out a tweet with some of her stats, right? So, I mean, because she's qualified, I mean, this is also her first French Open that she's qualified for, so obviously that's amazing. And then, but this year, across all professional matches, she's got a win-loss record of 140, lost 9. On clay, she's 123 and lost 2. She's won 5 titles, including 3 100 titles. And not only that, we know that we talked about it before, she won 3 consecutive titles across 2 continents on 2 surfaces. Right. And if we start also from Zaragoza, which was the first 100 title she won in April, she's currently 25-1. So she's won 25 matches and lost 1 since April. So, I mean, if that doesn't give you confidence, I don't know what will. But she must be feeling confident. Yeah. And the thing is, though, I did watch her qualification matches. She came through. Yes, well, I watched some of them. The first match, she beat Justina Mikulskaitė of Lithuania 6-2, 6-1. Pretty straightforward for that, and that's more or less what we expected. And then she beat Petra Marchenko of Croatia 6-4, 6-2. And then in the final match, she played Raluca Serban of Cyprus. And that ended up being maybe a little bit more tricky than you might have expected. Raluca Serban, perhaps, maybe a surprising one to get through to the final round. But, I mean, it was a little bit of a weak section because she started, Serban, she started against a wild card. And then the next round, she didn't have to play a seeded player. And she came through that 13-11 in the final tiebreak set. She was probably feeling pretty good as well, right? And and I think Moyuka was up a break and then got broken back in that first set. But she ended up grinding it out 7-5. And the second set, she did get the break and she kept it, and it was 6-4. But obviously still great for her just to get over the line. And for maybe the first time in these few weeks that she's been on this run, I actually saw some clear emotions of delight when she won it. She flung her arms up, and obviously she was, as you would be, really happy to make your first French Open. So and I wonder how she feels about it.
She draws very nicely as well, doesn't she? She's drawn, I think, a fellow qualifier.
Yep, so she's into the main round, drawing against a qualifier. It's a Spanish qualifier, Burillo. So, Irene Burillo
Escorihuela,
of
yes.
Escorihuela, of Spain. Yeah, and one
Ranked
that she would
280
be
in the world,
expected
but
to.
obviously pretty handy on clay.
Yeah, but obviously still a good opening draw for her because, I mean, being unseeded, you could have faced so many
You
amazing
could have
players
anyone,
that are
yes.
seeded, right? So, I mean, and it's still a match that I think clearly with Uchijima in the form she's in, she should be getting through that one. And frankly, I would
Right.
expect her to get through probably in straight sets. But I mean,
It's going to get harder from then.
if she does win that, then she will have to play against either, so it's Erika Andreeva or Arina Sabalenka, the number 2 seed. And I mean, most people are going to expect Sabalenka to get through that one,
Yeah.
but if she's going to come into that 19 matches winning streak,
Unbeaten.
or it would be sort of like 26-1, right, coming into it, right? Since
Right.
that title, then obviously she's going to be feeling confident. So if you're going to play Sabalenka at a slam, this is the time to do it, right? So,
Yes.
and so I mean, like, if you're a pro tennis player, surely this is something that you dream about, right? You play these big players on, that will surely be, I mean, imagine that was probably be on Chatrier, right? So,
Right.
but
Yeah.
that's getting a bit far ahead.
That's why you grind your way through these challenges, through these small events, through the qualifying. That's why you go through it for those moments. So, got to get through the first round first, and
Yeah.
then obviously that'll be the payoff. If the run's going to come to an end, then going down a blaze of glory against one of the best players in the world is the way to do it. She was, of course, I think the only one of the crew we sort of followed to make it through on the women's side. There was one near miss, though. Alex Eala, who we talked about in detail a few weeks ago from the Philippines. She didn't make it, but she gave it a massive, massive go. She had an easy first round win and then came through a very seesaw match with, I think it was Taylor Preston, with break of serve after break of serve. I think there was something like 20 breaks of serve in the match. It was hard to keep up. Ultimately, I don't know how much of that match you saw, and how much of a high quality match it was. Obviously, a lot on the line, but she did come through that before going down to Riera of Argentina, who was, I think, the second seed for the qualifiers.
Yeah, so I mean, Alex Ayala, I mean, she showed it right in Madrid, right, when she beat Kostyuk, wasn't it? And then she beat,
Right.
She almost got the victory in the second round, but she didn't. She fell short, but she took it to 3 sets, and she showed her fighting qualities. She's definitely a fighter, and I could see that, and she showed that again in this qualifying tournament. So. So the first match, she actually won 6-1, 6-1 very comfortably against Ma Yexin of China. Now, just a little bit of a interesting fact here is that player that she beat there, Ma Yexin, is the only player who beat Uchijima on her run.
Oh,
on her
right.
on the 25 wins to 1 loss, and that 1 loss came against Ma, the Chinese player, and that was in the the tournament before.
Before she began the win streak, yeah.
Yeah, before. Well, no, before. No, not before the win streak, because that's the 1 loss she had in amongst that. So the win.
Okay.
Yeah. So since Zaragoza, but then that was. Yeah, she lost in the quarterfinals to Matt, and then she took the tournament in the next tournament, which was in Gifu, the 100 title. Anyway, that's just interesting. But Ayala then went on to play Taylor Preston, another young talent, 18 years of age from Australia. And honestly, the first set went 6-4 to Preston, and she was deservedly ahead. She just had a little bit more power, a little bit more angle, and she was pushing Eala back. And really, Eala did look second best, and that was a deserved first set for Preston. And even some way into the second set, I felt like it did look like Preston was on top. But Eala just kept on fighting. Yeah, there was a lot of breaks of serves, even by this point. So, yeah, it was a very up and down game. But yeah, you just felt like, even though they weren't doing too well on serves, I mean, partly was because they were going big as well when they had the chance on the returns and making it difficult. But they just,
Right.
yeah, I mean, you felt like Eala was doing a little bit more to try and win the points there, pulling at the drop shot, and just fighting hard. And eventually won that set. And then in the final set, she managed to also grind that out 7-5. And then moving into the final match, she had to play the number 2 seed, Julia Riera of Argentina. She was underdog for sure in this match, but she started off really well. Well, actually, no, it started off terribly because she went down 4-love. She went down 4-love, but then she fought back and took the set 6-4. So again, yeah, just an illustration of, that she does have that sort of fighting, spirit that is obviously important if for a lot of players, and if you want to do well in this game. And unfortunately, into the second set, she she was doing pretty well, but then Julia Riera seemed to be playing the bigger points better, and actually, I think she got ahead 5-3. But and so Alex Eala did well to fight back to take it to a tie break, but then I don't think Eala played a good tie break. Like I said, it came down to those important bits. Yet Riera took that 7-3, and then in the final set, I think. I didn't actually manage to see all of this, the final set, but then it came down to Alex Eala did try to break back. She had some juice points and she had opportunities, but unfortunately, she couldn't get it done. And Julia Riera took the final set 6-4. So, yeah, I mean, nonetheless, for Eala, this was the closest she'd come to reaching the major. So, she's probably going to feel pretty good nonetheless with the effort she put in. Sad thing for her was that final match came on her birthday. I mean, yeah. It depends on how you look at it, but I mean, she, that was her 19th birthday on the same day she lost. But she still takes
you can have a night out in Paris on your 19th birthday. I mean,
and she still gets a hefty paycheck, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know what the paycheck is. Something like I'm going to say it's something like 70,000 euros or something like that.
It's going to be significantly bigger than those tournaments she was playing in China earlier in the month. So definitely. Let's talk about those who are in talk about the main draw, and obviously Aussie Open finalist Zheng Qinwen, probably the biggest hope for this region. She is the 7th seed. She has a nice path early in the tournament. She has the retiring Elise Cornet in the first round. Elise has been doing pretty much a farewell of the French early summer clay swing. I know she bowed out to Navarro in Strasbourg and said farewell to Strasbourg last week. You'd have to fancy Zheng Qinwen to end Elise Cornet's Roland-Garros early here.
Yeah, I mean, Zheng's the 7th seed. And drawing a wild card Cornet, who is definitely, this is going to be her last tournament. I mean, you can't look at that as anything other than a good draw. I think, it's probably going to be in Chatrier, right? I don't know. That's? I don't think that was on the schedule for tomorrow, as in Sunday. But
didn't see it. No.
I mean, I would be surprised if she doesn't get through that one. Obviously, Cornet is going to have the crowd on her side. What the French crowd's going to be like. They do support their own, but I would be surprised. And then obviously, she does get through that one. Then she will have to play. Kruger or Korpatch of Germany. So, Ashlyn Kruger of America or Korpatch of Germany. I mean, these are players that. With the form, I mean, she just reached a quarterfinal in Rome with very similar conditions to Roland-Garros, so I would expect her to be able to get through. And then, obviously the first seed as well, that's important. But the one in her section is Sorana Cirstea. And I mean, as draws go, I mean, it could have been tougher for sure, but we'll have to see how it goes. The other possibly tough seed that she could face in the fourth round is Anna Kalinskaya, who has been pretty good, or very good recently. And she did very well at the Australian Open. Other players in there, yes, Paulini. But and then moving on, if she does get through that, I mean, you're looking at towards the quarterfinals. She does have Rybakina in her section, so obviously that is potentially tough. But Rybakina, she withdrew from Rome. She was not well,
Right.
So who knows how she is feeling coming in. I mean, imagine you've got to expect her to be, she's one of the top players in the world, so you've got to expect that she will play well. But still some question marks there. But looking maybe ahead to other players.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, everyone will have talked a million times about Naomi Osaka, but Naomi Osaka, of course, has Bronzetti in the first round, ranked, I think, in the 40s or 50s or so. If she gets through that, then obviously a blockbuster second round match.
Yeah, so Bronzetti is who she's drawn in the first round. I mean, Bronzetti is a player that, she can play pretty well on clay. It's a player that, she would be expected, probably Naomi to beat, right? I mean, I think most people would expect her to win, but doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy. It's still like for Osaka, it's not the most natural surface for her to move on, although she seems to have made a little bit of progress in that respect because she got to the fourth round where she lost to Zheng recently, right? So, and that was in Rome. But but let's say she does get through, then she'll probably be playing Swiatek, who plays a qualifier. But let's be honest, I mean, if I'm Swiatek, I don't think I'm that worried about that, right? The way Swiatek's playing at the moment, I think she could actually, because we were talking about, like, Osaka is still not the most natural mover. I think, like, on the surface, Swiatek could definitely exploit that, and she'd be moving her all over the place. And but I mean, at the same time, Osaka's got that power. She'll have to play a really good match and try and harness that as much as possible. But nonetheless, it will be an interesting to see if she can actually make a match of it. I'm not expecting her to win, though.
Okay, one player I don't think we've talked about at all during the 6 prior episodes. Now Hibino of Japan, who I know we've seen plenty of times actually in Seoul. She was certainly a regular for many years at the WTA Career Open. She's obviously straight into the main draw now, Hibino. I think she's got Bernarda Pera in the first round.
Yeah, no, Hibino, yeah. I mean, as far as hopes of getting through that one, I don't know if she's... Because I don't think Hibino's particularly adept on clay. That's the thing. So but we'll see if she can get through that one. I'm not especially hopeful, but I mean, if she does get through, though, she might have to play Sakari and on that side, and then as far as other players on the women's side, obviously we've got a number of Chinese players that are in the zoo. We've got Lin Zhu. She's in there, and we've also got an all-Chinese battle between Wang and Wang Jiu and Bai. So probably Wang will be favoured to win that, but Bai comes in as a qualifier, right? So, oh, sorry, no, she's not a qualifier. I beg your pardon. So she just sneaked in as a by her own accord, but
just in on the ranking, Mm-hmm.
But as far
that's in Ons Javert's part of the draw.
That's right, yeah. But if she does, I mean, if either of them were to get, whoever gets through that one, will probably have to play Leila Fernandez, I should say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, no, I don't. As far as honestly, like, if you're talking about players from Asia that are going to progress well, I mean, are representing an Asian nation, you've got Rybakina and Zheng there, who I do think have they have definitely got good opportunities to go far here. And then obviously, they could meet each other in the quarterfinal. And then we've also got Putintseva there as well, of representing Kazakhstan. She has to play Sloane Stevens, but I would imagine that Putintseva will get through that one. And then she has to play either Katie Bolter or Paula Badoza. And so that's pretty good I would say, for Putintseva, because Badoza's not in great form. And then, but Bolter is Katie Bolter. So, I mean, she's British, and they don't actually have much of well, she did okay though. Sorry, I mean, but Badoza's done okay recently, because she got to the fourth round in the Italian Open in Rome. But Bolter, she's probably just thinking partially ahead to the grass season
to Wimbledon. Yes, get me off this dusty red stuff as quickly as possible. It's messing up my shoes. Okay, anything else on the women's side of the draw? I did notice Ostapenko's got a really, really good draw and could go quite far if she sets her mind to it. But anything else?
Who's Penko's?
I'm not sure. She's the first seed she would meet there is Caroline Garcia, so it's not a bad draw.
Okay. So she opens against Jacqueline.
She's got
Christian.
Yes. And then Maria or Towson in the second round. So
Tatiana Maria, though. But yeah, Tatiana Maria, of course, she loves the slice and former Wimbledon semi-finalist. But yeah, she probably won't be doing very well. So you probably Towson will come through that. Clara Towson will come through that. The youngish. She's 21, player from Denmark. I would imagine. But Ostapenko would still fancy her chances there. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to always know what you're going to get with Penko, but she did all right recently, right? So, but Goff, maybe, just looking at her section, I mean, I'm not seeing too much that should be worrying her until maybe the fourth round or so she could be a Goff versus Penko in the quarterfinals, but we'll see how that goes. But moving on, maybe to the men's side, we can talk a little bit about the qualifications.
Qualification wasn't hugely successful for the Asian representatives. I think it was who got through. It was Shintaro Mochizuki. I think was the only one.
No, there were as far as the Asian players, we had Shintaro Mochizuki getting through qualifying. He is the young player from Japan. He managed to get through against Nick Hart from a set down in the opening round, and then beat the 18th seed Stefano Napolitano of Italy 6-3, 6-2, and then he came through against Facundo Bagnis of Argentina, very experienced and on this surface, and he would have expected to get through that one, but Facundo had some physical issues, I think with his leg. Shintaro took the first set 6-4, and then Facundo took a medical timeout near the start of the second set, but with the score at 2-love in the second set, Bagnis retired, and that obviously gave Shintaro his first French Open main draw. So nonetheless, he's put in a good effort. Unfortunately, he's probably not going to go any further, because he's going to have to play Hubert Hurkacz in the first round of the main draw. So, I mean, unless Hurkacz himself gets injured, I would imagine he should get through that one pretty comfortably. William Ciocchetti managed to get through the first round 6-3, 7-5 against Alex Molchan. That was a pretty good result for him. Boo hasn't played any clay matches coming into this because he was in the Asian Hardcourt Challengers, where he did well, probably carrying some of that confidence into this match. But then he lost in straight sets to Gustavo Haida of Brazil, who eventually actually went on to qualify. So yeah, and but as far as the other players that managed to qualify from Asia, we had Mikhail Kukushkin, who represents Kazakhstan. Long time on the tour, 63. No, he's 36 years of age. He came through against Leandro Riedi, Mikhail Kukushkin, 6-4, 6-3. And then against Li Tu of Australia, 6-4, 6-2. And then, tougher match in the final round, 3 sets against Maestrelli, 6-4, 6-7, 6-3. But that puts him into a major main draw for the first time since, I think it's Wimbledon 2022. So it's been almost 2 years since he's last been in that. I mean, because he's been down, his rankings fallen down to 200s or below, like he, grinding out in the challenger level. But he's finally gotten the qualification tiers, managed to get through. And I think it's actually his 45th appearance in the main draw of a major.
Draw slam. Well,
so I mean that's pretty amazing, really. But I mean,
it may only be 36, but it would be feeling 63 after 45 of those. We haven't been able to talk about Kwon Soonwoo for a couple of weeks. Obviously, he used his ranking to get in. He's got Emil Rusevori, I think, of Finland in the first round. Rusevori, he actually beat Marcus Giron in the round of 32 in Geneva last week, but he withdrew, I think, before his round of 16 match against Shevchenko.
Yeah.
He has got to the second rounds here in both of the past 2 years. So what do we make of this for Kwon?
Well, Rusevori is actually, he's a very good player, a very player with nice ground strokes. And he has been as high as the top 40 last year. I think in that last match, sort of the last tournament where he gave the walkover to Shevchenko, that was due to illness. So perhaps, I mean, that was about, it was only a few days ago, right? So maybe some question marks about how he's feeling. I mean, he's maybe not the ideal preparation. I mean, presumably to not play a match through illness, you probably got to feel pretty sick, because I think a lot of players would play on if they just had a cold, right? But maybe just a bit of precaution because it's Roland-Garros, right? But for Kwon, I mean, it's not his most natural surface, and he played one clay match coming into this, and that was against Skatov in the qualies for Challenger, and he lost. I think it was fairly close, but it was like 6-4, 6-4, right? So, but for Kwon, I mean, it may depend on Rusevori's state, but I would imagine that Rusevori would win. But I mean, for Rusevori, I mean, I guess it's also not particularly his best surface. He's more of a hard court player. But same thing for Kwon. But for Kwon, actually, his best slam result so far was a third round at Roland-Garros. And he beat Kevin Anderson and Seppi to get to that third round, and lost to Berrettini, which is, Berrettini at that time was very, very good. So
forgivable,
but but I would be surprised if it happens. Even if Kwon gets through, he has to play probably Seb Korda. So not easy. And then if he was miraculous to get through that, probably Alcaraz. So let's say Max. Probably he's not getting further
than the third round, whatever.
First round, but the most that you could probably imagine is third round. But Nishikori though.
Okay. Making his return, and there's really quite an interesting section of the draw. He's got a qualifier, hasn't he, Nishikori? I think it's Gabriel Diallo from Canada.
Oh, yeah. But Diallo is a player who has been sort of for a while been at that sort of, let's say, the cusp of challengers and and sort of the main tour, but he's just not been be able to get up to that top 100 level. But yeah, he's qualified here for a major for the first time. But he's probably going to be feeling pretty good. For Nishikori, it's hard to say because normally, of course, Nishikori is, if this was Nishikori a few years ago, you'd expect him to win this comfortably. And Clay, he's very comfortable, and he's a top player. But Nishikori hasn't played for a long time, and he kept on delaying his comeback. He kept on you get the injury list popping up. Oh, Nishikori's withdrawn. Nishikori's withdrawn. He's finally decided to use this PR here at Roland-Garros. The little I saw from his practice with Yannick Sinner did not look particularly encouraging because there was a few, errors and shanks, and probably doesn't help when you've got Yannick Sinner blasting balls at you as well. But, maybe he can try and find some rhythm though in that match and get a result. But then he'll have to play against Ben Shelton probably, or Hugo Gaston. I don't expect, but he's going to have that backing of the French, right? It's going to be interesting probably to watch him against Shelton. It'll be interesting to see how they take to Shelton.
It's an interesting little section, that, because also in the same section is Yoshi Nishioka, and he's got FAA in the first round.
Yeah, Felix Auger-Aliassime. I mean, I would say that's a pretty good result for Auger-Aliassime because Nishioka, he's obviously not the best on the clay, doesn't quite have the power, and obviously as well, like the last tournament as well, he also had to give a walkover in Lyon, Nishioka, and in the tournament before that, he retired in the middle of the match in Turin Challenger. So he doesn't exactly come into this in
form,
great form. I mean, obviously, Auger-Aliassime had his difficulties with form, but then he reached the final in Madrid, which was, big for him. I mean, obviously, he had a bit of help with the number of walkovers he was getting.
Right, yes.
But nonetheless, he beat Ruud, and so that was a good result. Bit of luck there for him, but also, I would imagine, nonetheless, he would be feeling much more comfortable coming into this. So I'm not too hot on Nishioka's chances there. And then if they, once he gets round, he plays either Max Purcell or Squire, the qualifier. So yeah, you're probably looking at an Auger-Aliassime, Ben Shelton third round there, if to be honest.
Round.
But
okay. A week ago, we were talking. I think when we recorded, I think it was Sumit Nagal was about to go on court against Baez in Geneva. A really tough first round matchup. He went down in straight sets, I think it was. He did hang around on the shores of Lake Geneva to get some good practice in with some esteemed practice opponents. But he moves up to Roland-Garros, and he's got a very hard ask first up. Sumit Nagal, he's got Kachanov. So welcome to Paris, Sumit.
Kachanov, who, it's for Nagal, he probably would have wanted an easier one than that. I mean, he's 18th seed. He's a former twice quarterfinalist here. It's not ideal at all, but I mean, it could have been worse as well at the same time. Nagal, I think you're wanting to start off well, really. He'd be wanting to start off well, hopefully get a first set and try and build on that. But I would still imagine that Kachanov would come through that if I was a betting man.
Right.
I'm going to probably, let's say, maybe Kachanov in 4 or something like that. Maybe Nagal can get into him a set at some point. But I mean, nonetheless, he comes in here for the first time, and at least he had that sort of the match against Baez, a different type of player though, but nonetheless it was a high quality player. So it's a bit of a shame that he had to go back to India because he was on that kind of run, but I think it was also the fact that
really
he
interrupted the momentum.
Yeah, because he had to go back to get the visa, and I mean he could have gone. I think he could have gone back to Europe and played if he wanted to, but I think he'd played a lot of tennis at the start of this year. So, he was maybe just thinking like, I need to take a break or something. But it's not. I don't think it's always ideal. Like he said, to break up, we look at Uchijima. She just kept going,
Right.
and it's worked out for her. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Because I mean, if he does get through, he would have to play either Josef Kovalik or Marcos Giron, the lucky
Giron,
loser.
yeah.
So whoever gets through that first match, thinking, well, yeah, maybe take it a bit easier in the next match. So
Yes. And they're running to Holger Rune in the in the third round, provided he comes through Dan Evans in the first round, of course. A couple of others. Zhang Zhizhen has got Vukic of Australia in the first round. He would play the 17th seed Ugo Humbert or Lorenzo Sonego should he come through. They're in Tsitsipas' section of the draw.
Yeah, so Zhang Zhizhen, I mean, if you're talking about players representing Asian nations, then he would be one that you'd be thinking would have maybe the best chance on the men's side anyway to get far. He starts off against Alexander Vukic of Australia. I think that's a pretty good draw. He's not a clay court player, and Zhang in the form that he's in should be able to get through that one. But then if he does get through, having to play either 17th Ugo Humbert or Lorenzo Sonego, it does. That's a step up in quality there.
Right.
Probably with the way that Humbert has played recently, I would expect him to get through that. So that could be quite a big match for Zhang in the second round. Unfortunately, coming in Paris, Humbert's going to have big backing. And of course, Zhang, he lost that quarter final to Tabilo. And Tabilo,
right.
He's a big a player with big lefty, with a lot of power as well, who was playing very nicely. And, not too dissimilar to Humbert in terms of style. So I wonder if that might be counting against Zhang. So, I mean, I think with Zhang, I mean, it's not a great draw, really. I mean, the first round's fine, but then if he gets through that second round, he's got to play probably Tsitsipas, which is... Tsitsipas is someone that, who'd be fancying himself to win possibly the title here, given the way that
the tournament.
Maybe we can talk a bit about that, but
the way that everyone else seems to be a bit of a mess right now. But
so
and then
anyone
what
else
catches the eye in the I mean, from our part of the I'd say for our part of the world, not really. I think Lloyd Harris made it through qualifying, didn't he?
No, he didn't make it through.
He didn't make it through qualifying? Okay, he failed. No. Duckworth failed as well.
These guys are not
Coleman Wong failed as well. It wasn't... yes. It wasn't... it wasn't great.
Players that are in there, I mean, we've also got Mikhail Kukushkin. He qualified. He'll play Fabian Marachan. But again, that is... Marachan... he's quite... who was it? He broke through first of all when he beat Carlos Alcaraz last year on clay. Marachan is obviously a player quite capable and probably not ideal for Kukushin, who has mostly been playing at a lower level. But stranger things have happened, and you take that confidence from qualifying in with you, who knows? But then either of them would have to play Grigor Dimitrov, who plays pretty well, and he's been doing quite well recently. So, I mean, probably if you're looking at that little section, Tabilo is the one to watch there. But he has to start off actually against Zizou Bergs, which is Zizou. He's an exciting player himself, qualifying here for the first time. So that could be quite a fun match actually. Also, they've got Alexander Shevchenko. He opens against Karatsev in the opening round. And either of them will have to play Nicholas Jarry or Moutet next. So, but I mean, probably not ideal for them either. But Nicholas Jarry, be fancying it to get through. And I don't see too much. I mean, maybe you want to talk a bit more generally. Do you have any thoughts on your own thoughts on who you
Who's
think
going to
might
win
be
this
able
tournament?
to win this tournament? Yeah.
It's shaping up as one of the hardest ones to predict in a long time.
Yeah.
I know there's questions about Djokovic's health, etc. But let's face it, come slam time, he does usually get it together. If I was a betting man, I have known to be, and I had to make a choice, I would be boring and go there. Unfortunately, there's so many question marks about pretty much every top player.
I mean, that's what I said recently when I was talking on Talking Tennis. I think John asked us to give us our Roland-Garros predictions, like for the men's side, because we just I eventually came around and said Djokovic, only because there was just the question marks over Sinner and Alcaraz. And let's remember, as good as they've been playing, they haven't won this tournament before. Djokovic has. And although he hasn't, he came out quite strangely. The match against Tabilo, he was really bad, and it looked like was he really trying at some point? But then also strangely, I mean, I didn't see the match against the semi-final in Geneva against Thomas Makash. He apparently was. It looked like he was throwing some games in that match, which I don't know what that's about. I mean, he won the second set 6-love, but then got soundly beaten in the final set 6-1. So you do wonder, like, I mean, is he maybe just? You do wonder what is going through his mind, but like, is he just trying some stuff out?
Right.
Why is he playing in the week before Roland-Garros? Right. But it's quite strange. I mean, but having said that, like we said, we don't know about how good Alcaraz is physically. He had problems with his arm that he couldn't hit forehands properly. Or he was trying not to go full on the forehand a lot of times. Sinner apparently is okay, but he also said that he's feeling pretty good, but it's not quite 100%. He'd ideally like it better, but that's how is that going to go if he's playing match after match? And then Djokovic has a decent opener against Herbert. He's, as far as I can see, that the draw he has is pretty good. Although he might have to play Tommy Paul in the fourth round, and Tommy Paul has been actually quite exceptional recently on this surface. I don't think Musetti is going to be much of a problem for him in the third round. So, I just think, why not? Like, why Djokovic has done this before. I think once it gets into the 5 set format, he has more chance to come back. And maybe it's, at this stage of his career, maybe it's only the slams that really motivate him, right?
That matter.
Probably, right? He's not that. Who knows? This could be his last season, or maybe next season's his last season. He's not. I don't think it'll be this season, but it could be next season, right? And so he must have that on his mind. He's probably worried about as well, like just these slams in the Olympics, and then Nadal doesn't obviously look good. It's going to be interesting.
I think we've overshot our time, but we probably should talk. Say, not necessarily the last one for Djokovic. It's almost certainly the last one for Andy Murray. He's got Stan Wawrinka in the first round. I think 2008 called, and it wants its French Open fixtures back. Murray also playing doubles with Dan Evans as well.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunate draw for Murray, but at this stage of his career on clay, he was never probably going to do very much. I mean, I'd imagine that Wawrinka will get through that one. Also, Wawrinka at this tail end of his career is not anything what he was, and even if they were to get through, they play Norrie, who's always going to be pretty tough, I think, on this surface. So, and then, even if they were to get through, Sinner probably in the third round, so it's not ideal. But maybe for Murray and Evans, they might have a chance in the doubles. I mean, I'm not that's actually a more realistic prospect for them, and they've surprisingly been given
Yeah.
the wild card in. So who knows?
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more on Roland Garros? I guess we'll have plenty to talk about
I
next
mean, do you have a
week.
pick quick maybe for the? I mean, for the women's, I don't think anyone
For the
can
women's,
see.
yeah. If it's boring to go with Swiatek, but if we have to go for someone else, we'll go for Penko.
Okay, you heard it here first. Penko coming for the 2024 French Open. Yeah, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit about the challengers, because there are some
Yeah,
challengers,
we
and a little
there
bit.
was. I mean, we better talk briefly about Gerard Campagna-Lee, I guess, because we did talk about him on the show a couple of weeks ago. He had a pretty good week in the 75 in North Macedonia. He got through to the semi-final where he played Joel Schwartzler, 18-year-old, currently the world junior number one, I believe. And he's actually coached, give it a Roland Garros link, he's actually coached by Jürgen Meltzer, who was the 2010 Roland Garros semi-finalist. It was a tough matchup. The bookies couldn't split them. I think we both managed to watch most of this game. And I think it did really emphasize, I think, for both players, it showcased quite a lot of their strengths, quite a bit of their limitations as well for both of these young guys.
Yeah, so Campagna-Lee, he's still young himself, like 19 years of age. Came into this with not the best year as far as like winning main draw matches, but he because he'd only won like 2 or 3 matches this year on the main draw, so not ideal, right? But but he came through pretty well in the first match in the round of 32 against Jay Clark, 6-1, 6-7, 6-3. And then in the second round, he came through comfortably in straight sets against Fonio of Italy. And then in the quarterfinal, he beat Marco Cecchinato 6-4, 6-2. Marco Cecchinato, of course, a former French Open semi-finalist, wasn't he? That year he beat Djokovic several years ago. Yeah, when Djokovic had that. I say maybe 2017 or something, right? But that's a bit of a slump, or 2018. I can't remember now. But Cecchinato on that managed to get up near the top 20, I think. But it was still a good victory for Campagna-Lee to get through that one. And he had to play Schwartzler of Austria, Joel Schwartzler, very talented, number one junior in the world, 18 years of age. He's 18 years of age, but he has a lot of power he's certainly not underpowered at all, is he? I mean, you watched that with us, and it started off.
Yeah, it was. I think in the first set, I think you said you compared CL's or Campagna-Lee's playing style to Casper Ruud.
Yeah, because he's very like. I mean, part of that's the get ups, like it's all Yonex and the bandana thing. But then,
right.
But then also, he's very much like, the serve and the big forehand. He's got, that's his main thing, the forehand, and the backhand's weaker. So I mean, for Campagna-Lee, he does have a good forehand. He's not the most powerful, but he's pretty good with that forehand. But for him, definite weakness in the backhand. For Schwartzler, though, he's got much bigger weapons, but doesn't he? So a lot of power on that forehand. He's lefty, right? And on the backhand as well, he's also very good. He was able to get a lot of power and open up the court with that. But I think in that first set, because it went to a tie break, it was Campagna-Lee who edged it out, because I think he was just a more stable player. Schwartzler was hitting some good shots, and other times errors were coming out. He's a bit erratic. I don't know if he's a bit nervous. And I think that was kind of going like that a bit into the second set. But then Schwartzler, I think he settled into it and actually started to play some really nice stuff, and it was pushing Campagna-Lee around, right? He was actually dominating for a lot of, some of those exchanges. I think for Campagna-Lee, it's like, I think he just, as far as I can see, he has clear, obviously good attributes especially that forehand. He hits it very well. But what I can see is that he struggles, like when he's pushed, out in that backhand wing. He doesn't seem to defend that well with it. I mean, earlier on in the match, I saw he was hitting a few slices, which is maybe the way to go for him. But as far as when he was just hitting normal backhands, he doesn't get that much power on it. And he's also was making quite a lot of errors. and for Schwarzer, he was able to, take control of that. I mean, they did have some nice exchanges. I mean, quite a lot of cat and mouse exchanges,
Right.
and then lobs, and then all that. That was quite fun in those matches. But ultimately, Schwarzer was just overpowering Campanile, and then came through comfortably in that final set, 6-2. Maybe Campanile is going to have to work a little bit on how he's going to have to deal with players that are obviously going to exploit that backhand wing and
exploit that backhand. Yeah.
But also, how's he going to maybe play to his strengths a bit better? But I just see that actually in the final, Schwarzer is up 6-3 against Majchak in the final, and then 3-1 in the second set. So he looks like he's about to win his first challenger title at the moment. So that's quite certainly one to watch. Well, I think this guy.
We'll say one very thing briefly on that on that match. Multiple cameras, crowd shots, no fixed camera behind the baseline. I've seen Grand Slams with lesser production values than what they had in.
Yeah, it's true. Some of the courts. That's right. Some of the courts in the Grand Slams are not always.
It's covered as well as that one is. Okay, we better wrap up very shortly. You want to touch on any of the other tournaments that took place over the past week, or you're just finishing up around about now?
Just wrap up and say that just a quick mention: Yuki Bambry, former top 100 single players for India. He is playing with Olivetti of France. They got to the final of the 250 in Lyon. Unfortunately, they lost that final. Fortunately for them, they lost. So they've actually, but nonetheless, they got to the final 250, and I think Bambry moves up slightly to a higher ranking of around 52 in the world. So he's and then also we've got Timofey Skatov, who is born in Kazakhstan. Maybe unusually for the players that represent Kazakhstan, but although I wouldn't say that he. I wouldn't say though that he's. I mean, there are a few actually players from Kazakhstan as well who are sort of come through the Kazakh system. But I mean, this guy, he was born in Kazakhstan, but he left when he was 1 to live in Russia. And he did represent Russia, and then I think he lives in Valencia. But nonetheless, he represents Kazakhstan. So, I mean,
and he's representing them in Augsburg right now.
Yeah, and so he lost that. Yes, that's the Augsburg Challenger. He's in the final. He lost the first set 6-3, but he's up a break at 1 love in that final set, or second set, I should say. So maybe he's going to get that done. But actually, anyway, someone to watch out for, because he's definitely hit some clay sort of form on that clay court swing in the Challengers in Europe, and then Tunis, and then Augsburg. So maybe he'll be coming to a Roland-Garros draw again sometime, but not this year. Yeah, I think that's all we've got time for this week. So,
indeed. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. We'll hope to get this up before they kick off at Roland-Garros tomorrow. I think our time, it'll be 6 p.m. will be the first matches. Will start 6 p.m. Sunday, 11 a.m. locally in Paris. It should be a good week. We will check in midway through the tournament. For now, though, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.